Good morning everyone, my name is Michelle, I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video. It is Friday morning, the 11th of October. Before we start this video, if any of you, I think about 30 people jumped on to a couple of live streams that I just set up briefly. They briefly went live, and I did it at a time when I didn't think many people would be online. I was just experimenting to see whether I could stream from both Michelle After Dark and Michelle Walks at the same time. It was just an experiment, so apologies for anybody who thought that I was going cuckoo or something. But anyway, that said, let's get into today's video. We're going to talk about the Sebastian Rogers case, but more specifically about the legal battle that's going on between Sebastian's mother and his stepdad against YouTuber Bullhorn Betty. Now, this is not about drama. Let me just be very clear. This is not about drama. This is about the rights of people to talk about true crime cases. Sebastian's case is in the limelight for this at the moment, but it could be any number of cases where people come online and accuse parents or family members or someone else. And where does that line draw? So that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. Let's get into it. So the news channel WKRN were in the courtroom. So I'm going to play this short piece here, well, just part of it, to set the scene.
The last time these two parties were in court was in September for 3 different order of protections against the YouTuber Andrew Griffin. And today, the judge added Sebastian's stepfather to the growing list of people worried for their safety.
So, orders of protection. We talked about this briefly previously. Bullhorn Betty has already been served 3 orders of protection to protect Katie Proudfoot, Sebastian's mother, and also his step-grandparents, the Bowersocks, who all have claimed that Bullhorn Betty has stalked them, harassed them, etc. Now, Chris Proudfoot has filed for an order of protection, and this is what yesterday's hearing was all about.
The nearly 4-hour hearing started with a reminder of First Amendment rights. Griffin said multiple times on the stand that she never directly contacted Christopher, nor had ever met him. She did, however, state that she would visit his neighborhood to allegedly get a better understanding of the layout and put up flyers of missing Sebastian Rogers. And at one point, she also admitted to going to Christopher's place of work. Christopher also sat on the stand and claimed he felt unsafe with Griffin broadcasting his personal life and private life. The defense aired a 9-minute video showing clips from Griffin's YouTube channel, where she insinuates Christopher knows how to hide a body and may have had something to do with Sebastian's disappearance. To be clear, law enforcement has not said there's any proof of foul play in the case. Seth Rogers, the biological father of Sebastian and an advocate for Griffin, says the judge's decision to rule in favor of the protection order hinders the search for his son.
What I heard today is that you're not allowed to have free speech. You're not allowed to sit there and ask questions, as somebody would say, the hard questions, and get an answer. Those are 4 scared cowards, in my opinion. And if they're going to try to take away one of my voices, they're going to have to get ready for my voice.
Oh, fighting talk there from Seth Rogers. Cluminati and her fiance were in the courtroom, and they said that Seth stormed out. He stormed out of the courtroom. He was absolutely fuming, I tell you, at the judge. He believes that one of his voices, one of his crew, have had their opinion stifled. And this is against the First Amendment, and you can't do this. And anybody's entitled to say anything about anybody or do anything to anybody. Where does that line draw? Well, that line is very clear. In law, it is. We'll talk about that shortly. Now, WKRN have another piece on this and included some footage from the hearing. So let's listen to this.
In this temporary order of protection obtained by News 2, Christopher Proudfoot claims that Andrew Griffin stalked and harassed him and his family. The defense for Griffin argued for the First Amendment rights of the YouTuber, saying she expresses only her opinion and has covered multiple missing persons cases in a similar manner.
Yeah, she has, but that's a problem. Look at what her and some other YouTubers did to Don and Candice Wells. Now, whatever you think about Don and Candice Wells and whether they had something to do with Summer's disappearance or not, Bullhorn Betty was one of the people who went to Don Wells' worksite and got him fired from that particular job. That's not looking for a missing kid, is it? That's harassment in anybody's book. Now, Don and Candice didn't file charges of any kind. They could have done. They absolutely could have done, but they didn't. But in Sebastian's case, the parents here are fighting back. Simple as that.
She never initiated direct contact with Christopher or had ever met him. In response, the prosecution submitted a 9-minute video as evidence of Griffin's prior YouTube videos. In one of the clips, you can see Griffin as she shares her opinion, saying she indicated Sebastian's mom and dad had the knowledge of how to dispose of a body. She added she believes they may have had something to do with Sebastian's disappearance. It is important to note that law enforcement has not said any foul play was involved in the disappearance of Sebastian. Christopher took the stand next, saying he felt threatened by Griffin.
When your client goes to my job, my house, my campsites, yes, that is stalking.
On that you just testified to, have you ever spoken or communicated with Mr. Proudfoot in any form?
No, sir.
Do you recognize him?
Only by interviews on media as well as alternative media.
Are you talking about your interviews or other
people? I've never met him in person.
After an almost 4-hour hearing, the judge ruled in favor of Christopher Proudfoot's order of protection. At this time, Katie Proudfoot and Sebastian's step-grandparents have all obtained protection orders against the YouTuber. Now, the YouTuber is set to be back in court on November 20th for 6 counts of a protection order violation.
So, November 20th, that hearing about the violations of Katie and the Bowersox protection orders was meant to be happening at the end of this month, so there must have been a continuance there. Bullhorn Betty has fired back, so in the interests of showing both sides here, let's listen to what Betty has to say.
We'll see where this goes. If hashtags are what is needed to throw somebody in jail this day and age, every last person on this platform, the 945 people in this chat right now, are in jeopardy of going to jail. That's what that judge just said today, okay? So you need to think long and hard, because your hashtags could have you arrested next. Your opinion about parents being responsible for the disappearance or unaliving of their child, you speaking that out of your mouth, could put you in jail here in America. This is a very slippery slope. And this is a very slippery slope that county conjured up. That county, that so-called conservative county conjured up. So we are going to still fight, not just for my voice, but for Sebastian's voice, for Seth's voice, for Tony's voice, for all the victims' voices out here that are victims of these hate channels. We will not stop. This boy deserves to be found. We have a right to believe what we believe. We have a right to speak in America about our thoughts, opinions, and criticism without obstruction from our government.
Okay, so you've got a right to believe what you believe. You do, absolutely. And for those who are going to come on and say, Michelle, you're not American, you don't live in America, you're not from America. No, I'm not. But in the UK, we have the same rights, exactly the same. Right? It's under the Human Rights Act. Right, it's not a constitutional thing. We don't have a constitution in the UK, but we do have the Human Rights Act. That says that you're allowed to think what you think, you're allowed to believe what you believe, you're allowed to have an opinion and voice an opinion, you're allowed freedom of expression, but with that comes limitations. It's not a free-for-all, exactly like the First Amendment of the United States of America. It's not a free-for-all. It's not a get-out-of-jail-free card. The freedom of speech, the freedom of expression has limits. It doesn't include you being able to harass someone. That's where the line is drawn. Defamation, harassment, all of those things are against the law, either civilly or criminally. I understand where Chris is coming from. That going to his job site, that's not looking for Sebastian. Going to the campsites that he stays at isn't looking for Sebastian. Going to the home. I mean, all right, a drive-by the home, driving around the neighbourhood, looking at possible ways Sebastian could have got out, that's fine. But when you get out and you're screaming at people and also some of what you say could be construed as threatening, that line has been crossed, in my opinion. And that was the judge's opinion as well. And I'm allowed to have my opinion. Look, if Seth is so butthurt by this, what were all those cease and desists that he gave to various people? What was that if it wasn't an attempt to stifle free speech? What was it? So, just because the boot's on the other foot now, Seth, you didn't believe in free speech then, did you? No. Okay, moving on. Let's have a look at what some people here have said on Twitter. Melanie says, absolutely no shade. Betty is a hero, in my opinion. And I know she isn't going to back down. I love this song. I hope it inspires her and everybody else to continue to find justice for Sebastian, regardless of the obstacles. I'm turning up the volume. I won't back down. Well, I won't play the song because it will be copyrighted. Right, so that's what we've just watched. That's who we should be talking about. This is who we should be talking about. Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. You're not going to find Sebastian by stalking his parents. You're not. You're absolutely not. This is a clip from the judge. Bullhorn Betty whining tonight that she didn't get her way. It's not about you. It's about a missing child, Sebastian Rogers. Let's listen to this.
Somewhere along the line, this turned not into a pursuit to find Sebastian Rogers. It turned into a personal vendetta. You know, it's interesting that you came to Sumner County to help assist in finding Sebastian Rogers, but there's been really very little testimony by you of what you've done other than harass Ms. Proudfoot and Mr. and Miss Bowerside.
And to be honest with you, I think that the ruling today was wrong.
So you think the ruling was wrong? Well, that's fine. You're entitled to that opinion. But that doesn't change the letter of the law, does it? No, it doesn't. Have you seen me? Sebastian is 15. He'll turn 16 in December. He's been missing since February 26th, over 7 months. Sebastian is 5'5", just under 120 pounds. He was last seen at his home on the evening of the 25th of February by his mother. He was wearing a black top, black pants with white stripe, and he's possibly without shoes. He went missing approximately between midnight and 6 a.m. Have you seen this young man? This is Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. This is who the case is actually about. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.
Good boy. Noodle. Noodle, sit. Good boy. Noodle. This way. Noodle. This way. Good boy.